Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and I wanted to do a update, 6-month update on the Samsung, I believe S95B QD-OLED, or it's the S95B to make this a little bit easier to say. I bought it on, I think it was actually July 3rd, day before 4th of July. I had an extra, longer weekend, so I was like, I'm going to do something crazy and spend a whole bunch of money on this unnecessarily nice TV. There's other OLED options, but I'll get one of the more expensive ones. I have to say I'm pretty happy with it. So just to start out, actually, since I'm here, I guess I can talk about, reflections. It's not bad. I mean, it actually looks way worse. Let's see if I can bring it down. That's probably about what it looks like to my eye right now. So it's pretty good with reflections. Again, it's obviously off. And if you go back early in my channel, I had a Panasonic Plasma. And they had that, CRT style, just a glass with no coating. That one, if you look at any videos I did of that, the reflections were just awful. It was like a mirror almost. So the coating on this is pretty good, especially when it's on. This isn't the brightest room, but I have no issues at all with it. And there's no damage or anything with it. I don't think I've really had any smudges or anything where I've needed to really wipe it off yet either. And here's how I have it set up. Now, the first thing you'll notice, being an OLED, you got that super thin, nice profile, one of the best. I think the only ones better were the LG or the frame one, or maybe I'm wrong, but there's other ones that are this thin, and they would just have a little fiber optic cable, and then this whole module would kind of be like a soundbar size deal in a other spot. But that does actually, it made the mounting a little bit different, because your VESA mount had to be, instead of like, I think 300 by 300, it was like 300 by 200 or something. So it actually made the TV sit a little bit higher, but I got used to that pretty quickly. And you can see my cable management. With this one, I'm not using the USB ports, at least not now. Have 2 game consoles, Apple TV, over-the-air antenna, and then this out one's a converter just to go from component to HDMI, and this one's an upscaler, which I don't use because it introduced too much noise. And then I have a 3-way switcher for my other inputs like PS2, a GameCube, and I think PS3. So I run those in that one. You can see even just that back is nice and elegant. A little bit of dust. Now the TCL 6 series I had, I think it was actually a glass back, and it looked really nice. I don't know if this is glass, but whatever it is, it's decent too. But it's the back of the TV, not a big deal. And then one other thing I like with this TV is it actually accommodates for a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So at this point, this TV has Bluetooth, and I have a bunch of Bluetooth headphones and AirPods. So I can either connect to my Apple TV, I have a headset from my Xbox and PlayStation, and then the TV's Bluetooth itself, I have wireless headphones I could use for that. So I have the wire here in case I don't want to hook it up, but I like that because before that I had to use a digital audio converter through your digital or optical out, and then you would convert that and then use the headphone jack into that. So it's kind of a legacy connection at this point for me. But if you're looking for that, this TV does offer that. And lastly, before I turn the TV on, there's one last thing I'd like to mention, is the remote. Now, this is the one that this TV came with for me here in the US. It's pretty cool that it's battery power, solar powered, rechargeable battery, so you could do Type-C too. I think it said it had 90 when I got it, and I think it's still around 90%. It's a good remote, but it's nice form factor, but I just recently, for like the last week or so, bought this, and I think in other territories or other countries that they said that a remote like this comes with the TV, so you get both of them. Now here is the model for this remote. You can get it on Amazon. It's like $12. I got this one because the other ones have, kind of like this. They have all those crappy sponsored buttons of apps that I never use. And then you bump them and then it opens the app. It's annoying. So this one's just none of that. It's just regular TV functions up here. And the main reason why I went with this was to be able to change the sources without using the home. And I'll get into that more when I talk about some of the few things I don't like about this TV. But I find that this remote's pretty good. It's infrared, to where this is Bluetooth. This controls my Xbox Series X, PS5, Apple TV. You switch the input, and it just works right off the bat. This one will control them, but it's hit or miss. Like sometimes you'll be scrolling and it'll just lose connection because it's IR. I don't think it's actually, even though I'm pretty sure the Series X has an infrared sensor and the Apple TV can learn your remote, it seems like with this, it does it to the TV and then through that Smart Link or CEC, then it sends the signal to that. So I tried pairing it directly to those devices and it just wouldn't work because it's like going through the TV to the HDMI to that. So it's like telling it double and it was just a mess. So that's kind of annoying. So I keep this around. I don't know. That's something that I don't like between these two options. This makes switching inputs a lot easier. The buttons are, you got way more to pick from. To where here, at least this controls everything, but you don't get as much in terms of like a universal remote where you can just do sources and stuff this easily. So the first thing I'll do is just go ahead and turn the TV on. It comes on nice and quick. And again, this remote, so with this one, when you turn the TV on, it doesn't automatically turn the device on, which is kind of annoying. So the last device I had was the Xbox. But at least with this one, I can go to source. And then I can just switch to Apple TV, which is usually what I'm using on this. Now, the main interaction with this TV is pretty much just completely a smart TV setup. This is your home screen. One of the reasons why I went with this TV over the LG C1 or C2, at the time I bought this, the C2 was out. It was still significantly cheaper than what the S95B is. So I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have much experience with LG. I know you kind of can wave the remote around and you have that. At least it's their own operating system. It isn't like Android TV or Google TV or whatever it's called now. And TCL has like a Roku version, which that one I had. It's okay, but I didn't like it that much. I really liked the Tizen OS from. It was a Samsung TV from 2016. I purchased it in 2017. Everything on that more or less worked like this. So you would have this bar that would pop up at the bottom, and that was how you controlled your operating system basically. To where this one you have a home button, so you go home and you're bombarded with all these ads. So I think the best thing with this TV is to not use it as a smart TV. Personally, I have an Apple TV, so I want to watch YouTube through my Apple TV. Some of the movies I have are through the Apple TV app, and then I can watch most of my other apps through it, like Peacock or something like that. Now, obviously, being a smart TV, you don't need an Apple TV, but I already had one, and again, I have AirPods, I have a lot of Apple devices. To me, it was worth that extra investment. If you want to go cheap, you can get a Fire Stick or something and do the same thing. I kind of would lean toward maybe it wasn't a good idea to connect this TV to the internet for a couple reasons, which hopefully I can get all that without going too long here. So that's just the kind of the basis of this, is you have to do a lot of just looking through stuff. That's why I bought this remote. So at least now I can just hit this and go in and out of stuff, which is a little bit better than having to, on the other remote, go home, which you can see there, it didn't register that one time. And then your game tab, you have to go up here, then you go to game. None of this stuff ever goes away, so it has like this. And I did a video all about this. It's just annoying. Why is there like information cards? I've had this TV for 6 months. I should be able to hide those, or at least not have the selection be that first one. So you got to go down, then you got to scroll over, and then you can find your PlayStation here. That's my source, PlayStation 5. And then these are just gaming apps that are hosted by the TV itself. And for some reason, the latest update put the Xbox source on your media tab, which I kind of would prefer if I could have them all here. But the PS5 only goes in the gaming tab, and the Xbox only goes here. Now, it's annoying. But beyond that, I mean, there's not too much I can complain about. It's just the way the TV works is what I don't like. The best part, and probably the main part of this review, I mean, the picture quality is excellent. Now, I will say that in terms of how excellent, I had the TCL 6 series. I think it was a 2019 model. I bought it in 2020. That was the first TV I had that actually did HDR correctly. It was very vivid. It looked great. And when I upgraded to this, obviously there's no blooming. It does, it has the true blacks. It's better than full array local dimming. But the colors, I mean, that TCL was a $500 TV, and it was quantum dot, and it wasn't mini LED. That was the next year, I think. But to pay almost $2,000 for this TV, I really didn't see that much of an improvement. I think I would have been fine with the TCL, but I feel those TVs don't have the same amount of reliability. And I did get a good panel, and this one, I guess it's kind of the same. The panels are good, but sometimes with these, since they're so thin, there was that like big bend gate or whatever that a lot of them were arriving broke. So I bought mine in person at a Best Buy. But in terms of specs, that's how it does it, because it's HDMI 2.1, it's 120 hertz, QD-OLED, so it's a new OLED technology, which should get brighter. I'd say the brightness is about on par with what the TCL was, that was a LED TV, and this is OLED. And I'm gonna be mad now, since I just to have something going. I have these Apple TV screensavers running. I really hope something like this doesn't get copyrighted, because that's the problem with doing this. To show you head-on picture without putting it at some weird angle, I can't show you the TV setting. I can't really show you anything on YouTube that would look good. That'd be someone's copyrighted content. So hopefully this doesn't get pulled. If it does, this won't be in the video. But I'm actually pretty impressed with just how good the SDR content looks. I watched a physical Blu-ray on my Series X, and it was a movie. It's just a regular Blu-ray, so no HDR. And the SDR just looked nice. It didn't seem too blown out. It didn't seem like it almost looked like there was a little bit of HDR, if I can say that. Maybe, I don't know, it's been so long now, I'd have to go back to a non-HDR TV and do the same thing, which I'm not going to do, obviously. But let's just put this, I was happy with how it looked in terms of HDR. The Apple TV is in HDR, but the content I watch, most of it isn't, beyond just the movies. And Apple TV movies compared to physically on a 4K Blu-ray probably aren't as good looking. I'm not sure if that affects HDR as well. I know the bit rate's lower. And then gaming, which is the main use for this TV for me, all of my gaming is more or less in HDR. Again, no complaints. Now, as far as settings go, though, I'm probably not the main person to talk to of picture quality, because most people like, movie mode or cinema mode and warm colors. I like mine more on the cool, maybe a little more oversaturated. So I can have the brightness turned down a little bit so you can see. Again, a lot of times TV, I watch it at night. It's just too bright on 50, so maybe I'm losing out on that peak brightness. But I tried to keep it to where it would still show enough that you could tell the peak brightness was definitely on the screen. But I had to turn it down enough that just constantly it wasn't burning my eyes and uncomfortable to watch. So that's what I'm going with here. And I'm pretty happy with it. I really didn't have to tweak it too much compared to the TCL. This one was pretty good. Just had to lower the brightness. And I am using a $40 on Walmart soundbar. I talked about that, I think, in my 1 month update or whatever that video was. After spending all this money, I didn't want to put much in a soundbar. I always just use the factory speakers, but to me, they were just way too bassy and boomy. I'm in an apartment, and I didn't like it. Basically, like, you could feel it vibrating the walls, and the EQ settings just didn't work on this TV from what I could tell. So that $40 soundbar, it's a 2.0, so there's no sub, there's no overdone bass. It actually sounds better than the internal TV speaker, so it's cheap, but I've been using it for over 6 months now, and it's held up, so I can't complain. Again, if you're spending this kind of money on a top-end TV, I'm sure you already have a soundbar. You probably have a good one, so there's really no need to say much about the audio on this TV. It's okay. It's just I didn't like, to me it was too bassy, so I would recommend putting a soundbar in it. And you can see the version I have here is 1420. It's the current version, And that, I think before this, I never really thought, just because I didn't have time, I never really thought to look up Reddit and forums on this TV or YouTube videos. So I guess there's been like a big controversy with the past couple updates that messed up something with gaming. I'm not sure if it was HDR was broken or VSync or something that had to do with like in-game mode. So I think this latest update fixed that, but there were a few things that they updated that I didn't like. Again, why the Xbox now shows up in media instead of in the gaming page. And some people were saying, you know, when they want to avoid updates, if you uncheck the auto update, that it would still download, which I never really paid that close attention to it. I do know sometimes it would say that there's an update ready to be installed, but I don't know if it already downloaded it. So again, that would be, you might want to unplug it from the internet, not just shutting Wi-Fi off, but just disabling it altogether. That way, maybe you wouldn't have those ads on the home screen. You wouldn't have to worry about auto updates. And then you could just manually reconnect it, which is actually what I used to do with my old Samsung. I never kept it connected to the internet. Maybe every 6 months I'd hook it up just to download an update. So again, if I want to switch tabs, I can just go here, and it's a couple button presses. So where with this remote, I have to go home, then it takes me home, then I have to go back over, then I have to go up to game tab, wait for that to load, come down, go across, go into PlayStation. Because what I do, I turn them both on at the same time. I'll run update checks. If they need updates, I'll let them both run until they do it, and I might play a game on one or the other. And then I'll bounce back and forth to check until the update's done. But now, since the Xbox isn't over here, now I have to go back down to game, come back over, go back up, go here, and then back into Xbox. That's the thing. I don't know what it is, the lack of simplicity anymore. We've gotten so convoluted. We've kind of missed the mark over the years. Seems like things have gotten less intuitive. Like we're making problems out of nothing, trying to reinvent the wheel. To where this old dumb remote, you know, you press one button, there you go, you're ready to go. Compared to this, it's more supposedly more simple, more minimalist, but it's way more inconvenient. Now I know in terms of the LG, again, I never owned one, but the videos I watched, there were things where I think you had more settings. You could look at how many hours the TV was on. So you have this device here for whatever that might be worth for. Then you also have the panel care, which is really what the most important part is. Now I use the pixel shift. I'm used to calling it a pixel orbiter on the Panasonic Plasma I had. It's kind of annoying when you catch it. I don't think it does it as often as the Panasonic did, because I would always notice it every 40 or so minutes. This does it, but I really usually don't pick up on it. And again, I haven't ran the pixel refresh yet, but I do think after one of my updates, it said the next time the TV shut off, it would run it. So I think it has run it in the background before when it's off, and I just didn't know. But beyond that, I don't know how many hours I put in. I haven't used it that much. I've been just busy with other things. Probably using it a little more now in the winter than I did prior. But without knowing exactly how many hours I have, probably at least a few hundred, I would think. So it's probably as good as it's going to get. I don't know if there's any type of like set-in time, or if it's basically as good as it's going to get straight out of the box, and then it only degrades from there. But either way, I've had no issues. I have no burn-in or anything, but I don't think I'm really using it that much for that to happen. And a lot of what I do is, again, just gaming, so I like that you have the 120 hertz mode. Now, the Xbox is a little bit more smart with how it interacts with the TV, so it'll shut off game mode whenever you are like this is the menu. I'm not actually in a game, so that way if you want to watch a Blu-ray, it doesn't, you know, slightly reduce your settings to have better response time. It'll only switch the TV into game mode specifically when it senses that you've started a game, not like an app. And the HDR, I think the Xbox doesn't have HDR home screen, but then when I switch over to the PS5, you can see that it does have the HDR on here. And then there's, you know, you have the VRR. So this TV is capable of just about everything minus Dolby Vision. Again, it's HDMI 2.1, which I think just about all TVs at this point are going to have that are new, that aren't like the cheapest one you can get. So you get the 120 hertz refresh rate, 120 frames per second. That's going to be great. I mean, that's pretty much future proofed as far as content, YouTube, movies. I don't think any of those are going to be really 120 hertz anytime soon. Gaming, obviously console gaming. Now PC gaming, maybe 144 or 240 or something would be better. But for a big TV like this, 120 is plenty for me. You do have HDR10, and then you also have HDR10 plus. Again, no Dolby Vision, so as you can see here, as far as video games, I think just a very few use Dolby Vision. And being a video game, I'm not sure how much better Dolby Vision in a video game would look compared to HDR10. There's also, I guess, an argument between HDR10 Plus and the Dolby Vision that they say that HDR10 Plus is kind of more open source. So, like, I don't know if it can adapt. I don't know if Dolby Vision has ever changed, or I don't really follow that, to where it seems like HDR10 Plus can evolve, and again, it's license free. And then I think I've read that they said that some HDR10 Plus was better than Dolby Vision. But again, I'm not too sure. I don't know that much about either. I do know that TCL I had did Dolby Vision and it did HDR10, but it didn't do HDR10 Plus. And I guess the last thing I could say is I don't even know if any content that is HDR10 Plus. Or just about all of my modern movies on iTunes are in Dolby Vision, so I can't watch them in Dolby Vision on here. And I'm not sure if on the TCL, if I was really getting the true Dolby Vision experience, if it's supposed to be better, if that TV was capable enough of that, to where this TV at this price point, if all the abilities it has, being QD-OLED, it probably would look excellent for Dolby Vision, and I'm sure it's capable of it, but it's just, I guess, a licensing thing. And you would think that Samsung, being a large company and this being a very expensive TV, you think they probably should have put Dolby Vision in it. Now, could they with an update? Possibly, but I doubt they will. And that's one thing I'll say to that TCL. That TV was probably 2 years old or so, and then they had a major update, and they gave you a VRR and some things to where I don't know if going forward they'll probably still issue like bug and security updates. But since this TV is going on a year old now, I don't know how long it'll be, new features or anything. I don't expect too much to change in terms of like the home screen here. Will they make it any better? Will they just put like a nice little app bar instead of having to go here, and then I don't use the ambient thing at all, and how it's convoluted, and then the multi views never worked. I tried it a couple of times, and it would always say that you couldn't do the two apps that I wanted to, so what's the point of having it then? And I do watch just a little bit of over-the-air TV here and there, but not all that much. I mean, I do prefer like this guide on here compared to a lot of other ones. This one's pretty much like it looks like an old school TV guide, but you get that nice preview. One thing I don't like is like the description up there doesn't actually tell you what each episode's about. It just tells you what like a synopsis of the actual show series. I don't like that. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a DTV thing or just this TV, because there's like different forms of DTV. There's like information that comes over the air, and then there's also when your TV is connected to Wi-Fi, sometimes it'll pull in information. So I'm not sure who's at fault there, but I know if my TCL, it would actually display that correctly and it would tell you what each episode's about. But I think I'll leave it there. Again, unfortunately, I really couldn't show you that much in terms of content. I mean, I could just aim this and play a game or something, but you're really not going to get the whole depth of it. It's just a great looking TV, and unfortunately, I don't watch that many movies on it, but it knocks it out of the park. When I do watch a movie, I bought a few, especially like over Black Friday and the holidays, just to have a little library of some newer films with HDR and everything to see how they look on here. I mean, all TVs pretty much are 4K now, so that's expected, but you got the 120 hertz, you got the VRR. I'm not even thinking in terms of burn-in or how long the TV will last. I plan on keeping this one for quite a while. I don't have any desire for 8K. I really don't need anything beyond 120 hertz as long as the TV itself just doesn't get buggy or weird, and as long as there's no significant burn-in. I'm not sure what, I mean, there is micro LED coming out now. It's still very expensive, and now OLED's coming down in price, but I can't see what advantage micro LED would have over OLED when this is QD-OLED, so it's already plenty bright for me, and as long as I don't suffer from burn-in, I'm not sure if I'd be missing out on anything. So hopefully they'll keep this TV, I'm sure at least 2 or 3 years, but I'm hoping even at least 5. But I guess I'll have to wait and see. Who knows what could come in the future. And I mostly use it just for gaming, so in that regard, I don't know if it was worth almost $2,000 when I bought it, just for gaming. But just to know it's a TV that's kind of the gold standard of what you can get right now, I feel pretty confident with it. And anything I throw at it, I'm obviously happy with. So I would recommend it, but I think it comes down to price and then what you want. I mean, you can go, again, LG C2 or the G, I don't know if it's the G2 or whatever that series is, that's the current one. If you prefer LG, if you had an LG in the past and you like that, I'm not going to say this TV is better than that, but I just kind of wanted to talk about if you're interested in this specific TV, or if you have this TV, this has been my experience with it, kind of more of a light user, I guess, compared to what some people are, but that's how it is for me. So I figured I'd just leave it there. Probably come back with an update after a year, or if there's any significant changes. I've been using this TV for 6 months, very happy with it, no issues. I'm gonna plan on using it for as long as I can. So I think for that reason alone, it is gonna be worth that high price point. And at this point, it should go down in price. So between this and the LG C series, there's really a lot of competition now, and it's bringing the price down for OLED and now QD-OLED. So I think it's really just a win-win for everyone. So thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.